DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And we put all this together into one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show, one daily master class that you are listening to right now. And this show is every single day, in case nobody told you. It is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to have your own opinion, how to actually stand on that opinion, how to share your own opinion, how to express your own opinion, and make sure that when you are expressing an opinion, it is indeed yours and not just something that you got from somebody else. Even if you agree with somebody else's opinion, how to make sure you have your own opinion. Now, before I get into explaining why today's topic is today's topic, let me remind you or inform you that I have a text line where I want you to send me a text and tell me the best thing you got from today's masterclass, or you can just text me and ask me a question, share a challenge, or you can just text me so that you're getting my daily motivation text, which I send out every morning. You can get on that list by texting me at 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. Now, on this topic, let's get a definition of this word opinion. It is defined as a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. So opinions are, again, not necessarily black and white facts. They don't have to be black and white facts. That's the whole purpose of it being an opinion, is that it's not a fact. And we all can have our own opinion. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion and opinions, plural, on any subject that they want. You may have heard this saying before, and this is 100% correct. What's missing, especially these days right now, is that not everyone is taking advantage of their right to have their own opinion. What happens, especially since we have social media, is that many of us, we fall into and remain in these social ghettos of opinion, where basically we form a certain opinion, maybe based on our own thinking, often based on thinking that has been implanted in us because of the media that we're taking in, the people that we are listening to, or whatever the algorithm decides to send to us. Because one thing that I think we all have come to accept, whether you have thought about it or not, is that the algorithms in these social media platforms, these algorithms are smarter than we are. All right? They know more about us and can predict our actions even better than we can. So these algorithms are basically programming us and telling us what our opinion is going to be based on the opinions that we show up with. And if you haven't listened to episode 1690 of my show, then the dark secret that the social media platforms don't want you to know, go listen to episode 1690 where I laid this out in detail. But what happens is, because let's say you have a certain opinion politically, a certain opinion about race, or a certain opinion about sports, the algorithm notices that you have that opinion based on what you support and how you comment and the things that you're saying and whoever you're following, and is tracking you with all that stuff. And then it only shows you things that support the opinion that you already have, and or shows you more of whoever has that opinion in a strong way, or whoever the people are who have that opinion in a strong way and have a big audience. Whatever direction those people are going with their ideas, they just show you that direction. So basically, even when you change your opinion, it's only changing based on the most influential people's changing opinions as well. So your opinion seems to go directly along with another person's, not because you're thinking the same way as them, but because you're being shown the same thing that the algorithm is showing them, or they are part of what maybe actually directing that algorithm. So we fall into these social ghettos, we get into these groups of thinking a certain way, and then anyone who is outside of this group, obviously there's something wrong with their thinking, something wrong with their brain, something wrong with their morality, something wrong with their heart, and we just need to completely discard this person and get rid of them as quickly and as efficiently as we can. And then we end up attacking each other over conflicting opinions, when the whole point of having opinions is that everyone's is going to be unique. Not everybody's going to have the same opinion. So we shouldn't attack each other over conflicting opinions. Now, if we can't agree on facts, then we should be able to hash that out and figure out, okay, what is actually true here and what's not. But when it comes to opinions, there is no right or wrong. Like, everyone can have their own belief and their own way of seeing things. And that's the part that we should be happy about, that everybody has a different opinion, not angry at each other for having different opinions. And this is become a huge challenge in our world today. The opinion that you often are so staunchly defending, depending on where you got that opinion from, it may not even be your own opinion. If you really think about it, if you really look at where you got that opinion from, how it was handed to you, what experiences, what information, what beliefs are underlying the opinion that you have. If you really think about those things, you may realize that this was never actually your opinion. It's an opinion that you have adopted, but it was never actually yours. I remember looking at, I don't know where it was that I saw it. It was on, maybe it was on TV, or maybe I was watching a sports game on the computer. And I saw this commercial, and it was a commercial about, it had something to do with social justice and, all the stuff that happened in the summer of 2020. And I saw this video, in the commercial. At the end of it was a video clip of this little girl. She couldn't have been more than maybe 5 or 6 years old. And she's walking in the streets along with a bunch of other adults, and they're protesting, and she's screaming at the top of her lungs, "No justice, no peace." And she's screaming, and she's saying the chant over and over again while the adults around her are saying the chant. And the first thing that I thought to myself when I saw that little girl there is that little girl doesn't even know what her opinion is on whatever it is the adults around her have her marching for right now. Not even to say that she was wrong to be out there doing it, but that she doesn't know what she's supporting right now. She isn't old enough and doesn't have the mental faculties in place to form her own opinions about things, but she's already been indoctrinated with these ideas, and she's going to grow up with these ideas. It pretty much isn't going to matter by the time she gets to 7 or 8 years old. Pretty much isn't going to matter any other information that she hears, because it's already been laid down, the foundation of her mind, that the programming in her mind that this is what it is. Whatever ideas have already been put in her that led her to be out there screaming like that and protesting like that. Now the adults around her, if they want to have that opinion, listen, they're old enough to think for themselves. But this little girl didn't know enough, and this is just an example, and it's not even about the specific situation. I don't even remember what the commercial was about, but these are the kind of things that all of us are doing now. And you don't have to be a 5 or 6 year old little girl or child. You could be 35, 36, 55, 56. It's happening with all of us, that we are being programmed not by the adults around us or parents or teachers, but we're being programmed by just the circles that we are involved in. And we're only being around people who have the same opinions that we have. And then when they change their opinions, we happen to be changing our opinions. And before you know it, many of the opinions that you have were never even yours to begin with. So today, I want to help and make sure. This is kind of like a checkup. It's kind of like going to the dentist to get a cleaning and a checkup, or going to the doctor for your yearly physical. You might not even think there's anything wrong with you, quote unquote wrong with you, but you're going to the doctor anyway just to make sure everything is in order. That's what we're going to do with your opinions here today. So I want you to check yourself against the points that I'm going to share. Let's get right into it. Point number 1, today's topic once again is how to have, or make sure that you have, your own opinion or opinions. Point number 1, I want you to refer yourself back to episode 1796. The topic of that episode was get some balls. Now, why am I referring you to that episode in this episode where I'm talking about how to have your own opinion? The reason is the biggest challenge with opinions used to be, before the day and age that we're in now, it used to be the biggest challenge was that a lot of people just didn't think for themselves. People would hear an opinion that other people had, and maybe I know these people, I like these people, I trust these people, I work with these people, I'm in the same family as these people, I live in the same neighborhood, I'm the same color as these people, I work in the same industry as these people, so I'm just going to have their opinion because, they got it, so I'll have it because we're all friends. That used to be the biggest issue with opinions, that people just didn't think for themselves. Now, is this still an issue, that there are people out there who don't think for themselves? They let someone else tell them what their opinion should be, or they just go along with the group that they're a part of because they identify with that group? Is that still an issue? Absolutely it is. But I feel that this issue, though it still exists, is being edged out now by an even bigger issue when it comes to opinions, is that there are many people who do have an opinion that is different from the group with which they identify. They do have an opinion that would go against the grain of what appears to be popular in certain communities that they happen to be a part of. The challenge nowadays for a lot of people is they don't have any balls. They have a fear of expressing the quote wrong, close quote, opinion in the wrong space. Many people right now have an opinion that goes against the grain of wherever you are. Your coworkers all have one opinion. You actually think differently from what they're thinking, but you haven't expressed it. Your family members, maybe a bunch of people in your audience, if you happen to have an audience, if you express a certain opinion that might be different from what they think your opinion might be. Maybe you haven't spoken on a certain subject and maybe you're keeping it that way because you think if you did express what your actual opinion is, that some people in your audience may be offended and may no longer want to be a part of your audience. Trust me, I know what it feels like, but understand something. This is part of having your own opinion, is your willingness to express it and stand on whatever comes with the response or the blowback, if you think there's even going to be some, for you expressing that opinion. But we're going to get to that in a minute. But first of all, let me offer a disclaimer here on point number one. If you have certain associations in your life, such as you work at a certain job, you have a contracted position, if you have a certain position in your industry or in your business or in your community, whatever, that would be jeopardized by your estimation through expressing certain opinions, I'm not mad at you for that. I'm not telling you that you're wrong for keeping your opinion to yourself. If you feel like expressing a certain opinion, even if it really is how you feel, might jeopardize something else that's going on in your life. I understand that many times in life, all of us, at certain points, we got to play the game. And this is part of the hustle in life, that sometimes we just got to play the game. In episode number 13, 14, we talked about this. Hustle is learning to play the game in life. And playing the game means sometimes you may have to appear to go along with something in order to get along, just so you can handle the situation in the moment. And being a hustler also means sometimes you will have to do some things that you don't even really care about, or pretend to care about something that you don't really care about, in order for you to advance your cause in another area. This is just part of the trade-off of life, because often in life there are no perfect outcomes, and many times in life there's a trade-off that has to happen. And sometimes you gotta give a damn or act like you give a damn about thing A, B, and C in order for you to get what you really want, which is things D, E, and F. That is part of the hustle. So I'm not mad at you if you are withholding your opinion from certain situations and from certain people just so you can play the game. Okay, this is just part of life. Outside of those situations, however, when you're outside of those spaces, I want to hear what people think. Personally, this is just where I stand. I think you probably already knew that. That's why I'm doing an episode on how to have your own opinion. I want to know what people's opinion is. I don't want everybody to go along with whatever the program seems to be in the room so they can get along and nobody can ruffle any feathers. I like sometimes when some feathers could possibly be ruffled, because I want to know what people really think. I know that every human being is unique. I know that everybody is an individual, so it perplexes me. And it makes me curious anytime that everybody in the room seems to have the exact same opinion and nobody's offering anything to challenge it. I know that that's not what it really is. I know that it's just nobody wants to say anything, or nobody wants to be the first person to say something. I've given you some examples of this. I'll tell you this story. When I was in college, once we were at a tournament, and our coach brought us all into the coach's hotel room. So it was 15 of us players sitting in the room and the coaches. And the coach hands us each, he had like a story, this whole little story that he had spread out onto a bunch of index cards. So each player in the room, he handed each player like one or two of these index cards. And each index card had a piece of the story, but they were all shuffled about. So the coach said to us, the only way y'all will be able to put together the entire story and know exactly what the full story is you're going to have to communicate with each other and figure out what the story is. And he said, I'm going to give y'all 10 minutes to figure this out. And the coach stood there in the room and said, all right, I'm not going to say anything else. Y'all talk amongst yourselves and y'all figure this out. You can't look at somebody else's card. Everybody has to only look at their own card, and y'all got to put the whole story together. And in 10 minutes, y'all got to tell us, the coaches, y'all got to tell us what the whole story is. So the coach stopped talking. And then, of course, the players, we start talking. Now, what happened is the players who were the most outspoken on the team, these are like the seniors, they started talking, and they were saying they're going around and they're trying to get pieces of the story from each person, et cetera, et cetera. And we finally get to the point where it's time to turn in the story. So one of the seniors or one of the juniors, he was like maybe one of the starting guards. He's like, all right, so the story is, once we got enough of the pieces, or it seemed as if we had gotten enough of the pieces, we're like, all right, so the story is this. So the guy lays out what the story is, and he's like, all right, we're ready, coach, we're ready. We're going to tell y'all the story. So we were about to tell the story, and right before the guard was about to tell the coach the story, I said, hold up, before we do that, wait a minute. And a couple of the players and I kind of rolled their eyes, and I said, is there anybody in the room, any player in the room who has anything on one of their index cards that is in conflict with the story that we're about to give to the coach? Because if anybody answered that question, that would make it clear that we didn't have the right story yet. And when I asked that question, one of the players said, well, hey, I got something on my card that says this. And it was in direct conflict with the story we were about to turn into the coach. And a couple of the upperclassmen, the guys who have been doing all the talking, they kind of got annoyed with this player. And they said, well, dude, we've been sitting here talking about this for 10 minutes. Why didn't you say anything? And the coach, and where it's starting to be a little bit of bickering amongst the players, and the coaches are listening to this, and the head coach, he interrupts us and he says, well, guys, look, it's not about us putting together this story off the index cards. What's the actual moral of what I'm trying to teach y'all here? And nobody said anything. And then I spoke up and I said, amongst the room, I said, well, the point is everybody in the room has one piece of the story. Everybody in the room has an equal part in what we're doing here. Yet the problem is some people are not saying anything at all, and some people are trying to do too much. And some of y'all need to speak up, and some of y'all need to shut the fuck up. And the coach was like, yeah, exactly. And he went on and said something else. And the point of me giving you that story, I'm out of the story now, is that each one of us has our own opinion in the exact same way. Like, I don't want everybody to just go along to get along. I want people to share what they think, because we each have one index card, metaphorically speaking. I want to know where you stand. I want to know how you think. Not like hearing people's opinions when they can defend their opinion and they can explain their opinion. Now, if you can't defend or explain your opinion, it's probably because it's not your opinion. All right, that's just how it is. I want to learn something from everybody that I come across if you have something that you can share. So make sure whatever opinions you have, can you defend them? Can you explain them? And also, can you express the opposite opinion? Can you understand and appreciate how somebody can have the opposite opinion from you and be able to understand what their argument would be for why they think the exact opposite from how you think? Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to have your own opinion. Trust your own judgment. And when you don't know, ask questions. When you can't trust your own judgment, or at least you don't feel like you can, ask questions so you can find out what's going on, so you can fill in the gaps. This point here goes hand in hand with what I just said in point number 1. When someone expresses an opinion that I am unsure how they came about that opinion, or I'm not sure that they even came about it, that I think maybe they're just repeating something that they heard from someone else that maybe they know, like, and trust, I ask questions. I want to find out how firmly they can stand on that opinion. Now, this is a habit that I have that has sometimes caused people to get annoyed with me. It's caused people to become somewhat exasperated. It's caused people to, I don't know, maybe even not like me, because I will question someone when I'm not sure that their opinion is really their opinion. So when someone says something, anything, it could be on any subject, and I'm not sure that they really believe it, I'm just going to start asking questions. Well, why do you think that? All right, how'd you come up with that idea? Or they give me some reason why they think what they think. I say, well, what about this? And I offer them something like, well, what about the counterpoint to their opinion? And I'll see what they have to say about that. And I will keep it going for as long as they'll keep answering. And what I'm really observing a lot of times when I'm asking questions like that, I'm just observing their steadiness. I'm observing their energy. I'm observing, do they get angry? Do they get frustrated? Do they get nervous when I start asking them questions about the opinions that they have? Because if somebody really believes in their opinion and they really thought about it and they've considered the counters, then they would actually be happy to talk about it. They'd be happy to answer anybody's questions about it because they've considered it. They've thought about it from more than one angle. But when people start to get, and this is what often happens, within 1 to 3 questions, people get annoyed, people get frustrated, people get mad that you're even questioning them on their opinion, and they get defensive. And I'm like, okay, well, this tells me a few things. Number one, this person's not a critical thinker because they haven't thought critically about their own opinion, because this question obviously is new to them. If you're a critical thinker, someone questioning your opinion, whatever questions they ask you, it shouldn't be the first time you've heard that question. You should have asked yourself that question when you formed the opinion in the first place. And number 2, it tells me that this person might not even be open to considering the counter to their opinion. They might not be open to the idea that there could be another way of looking at this situation, because I'm offering it to them and they seem to be becoming flustered and frustrated by the fact that something other than what they think, something other than their opinion, or a the inverse, the opposite of their opinion is even being offered to them as a possibility. It's not even that I'm saying, hey, you're wrong, you should think it this way. I'm just asking them a question. Well, what about this? Have you thought about this? Or did you look at it this way? Have you ever considered this? Or did you hear about this? Or did you read about that? I just want to see how firmly somebody can stand on their opinion. When someone expresses something that you are unsure how they came about it, you should do the exact same thing. Ask questions. And before you do it with other people, make sure you're doing it with yourself. Look at your own opinions and ask yourself some questions. All right, do I actually believe this? Where did I get this opinion from? What experience do I have? What perspective do I have? What information have I acquired that led me to this opinion? And if you can't answer those questions, maybe it's not your opinion. Maybe you got it from your parents. Maybe you got it from one of your teachers. Maybe you think that way because your friends think that way. Maybe you think that way because you saw everyone, quote unquote, on social media was thinking that way. Doesn't mean you got to think that way. And what you may find out is either you or the person that you're questioning can't really stand on their opinion. And that's often a strong tell for that person having not formed that opinion based on any type of independent thought. Maybe they're just regurgitating what they heard from someone else or what they were taught from somewhere else or what they think is the current popular thing. So they're just going along with it again so they can get along with everybody else. And again, as I said in point number 1 with the disclaimer, it's okay to do that when you know you're doing it on purpose. It's okay to do that when you know that you're doing the hustle. Okay, I'm going to just be quiet and not offer my opinion here because it's not going to help me get to where I want to get to right now. But when you're out of the hustle, then at that point, it's not just always going along to get along in every situation in life. At some point, you want to stand on something. I mean, wouldn't you want to? That's a question. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how to have your own opinion. Make sure you remain flexible with your own opinion. Whatever that opinion may be, whatever your opinions may be, remain flexible with them. In episode number 734, I told you, keep your opinions flexible. This is something that even there are 2,000 episodes of this show, I'm offering you an opinion on probably 75% of them, offering you an opinion on something. All of my opinions are flexible. I may have an episode of the show that I did 1,000 days ago, and 1,000 days from now, I might make a different episode saying the exact opposite of what I said in that other episode. And I'll tell you up front, hey, 1,000, 2,000 days ago, I said this, but today I'm saying this. And here's why, because I have new perspectives, new information, and new experiences that have caused me to change my opinion. Opinions are flexible, people. You are not married to an opinion. Now, a piece of factual information, usually that's going to be set in stone, but facts can change as well. Just like there's a fact that whoever the leading scorer all time in basketball is somebody right now, somebody might pass that. So the fact could change over time when new things occur. But opinions, you can change your opinion as much as you want. What I've found is that a lot of people don't like to change their opinions because if they change their opinion, then they may be accused of being, either they were lying the first time or they were faking it the first time or they were just trying to deceive people at one point or another. Politicians do this all the time. They do it to each other. Oh, you had this opinion 2 years ago when you were trying to win that vote, but now that you're talking to these people, you got this opinion and it gets used against them. It's like the mudslinging of politics. People do this, and what we see in politics, it trickles down into everyday discourse. I mean, look at our national politics right now. What happened over the last 5 years trickled down into us, the way that the politicians were slinging mud at each other. Now we sling mud at each other because we were following the example of the people who are they're supposed to be our leaders. So what happens is a lot of people have an opinion and they just need to stick to that opinion for the rest of their lives, even when the information in front of them is showing them that opinion should probably change. And it requires like an avalanche of, information, of persuasion, of, I don't even know what else you can call it, shame, to get somebody to change their opinion or at least to admit that they had changed their opinion. So what I'm telling you here today is you should be open about the fact that your opinions can change. Every opinion you have ever heard me express on the show, I could offer you the exact opposite tomorrow if I so choose, because my opinions are all flexible, every single one of them. So just because you have one today doesn't mean you can't change it later. Another fear around opinions is that, as I just shared, once people have declared a certain point of view, they feel as if, or people act as if they feel that they're stuck with that opinion for life. And that is false. When you see things differently, you should change the way you talk about them. Only fools marry their opinions. Or opinions are not to be married. Or you date opinions, you don't marry them. If you have all the same opinions in the year 2030 that you had in the year 2020, then there's something wrong with you. because obviously you haven't learned a single thing, you have not experienced anything, and you have not gained any new perspectives. So maybe if you just stay in the house and don't talk to anyone and you only listen to people who have the same ideas as you, then I guess it would make sense that your opinions have not changed. But if your perspectives, information, and experiences are growing and expanding, then your opinions should also be doing the same thing. You can even tell people, as I have with you all, the same thing that I just told you. I gave you that phrase so that you can use it yourself. Every opinion expressed here is flexible and subject to change, pending new experiences, new information, and new perspectives. That flexibility is your out call. That's your out clause. All right, you can say, look, this is my opinion on this subject today, but listen, if new things happen and there's new information, I'll change my opinion. I'll look at this situation differently. It might be tomorrow, might be next week, it might be never, but I want to make sure everybody understands that I will change my opinion, and I'm open to you giving me some information that can help me change my opinion. Tell me why I should think differently and maybe think more along the lines of how you're thinking. But if you're going to bring that to somebody like myself, you better understand the counter arguments and you better be ready to defend your position. And what I found, and that's the reason for today's masterclass, that a lot of people are incapable of that. And this is why we are where we are. Let's recap today's class, which is how to have your own opinion. An opinion is defined as a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but I found a lot of people are not taking advantage of that. So here's how you do it. Number one, listen to episode 1796, get some balls. Biggest challenge with opinions used to be that people didn't think for themselves. That's still a thing. What I found a lot of times now, people just don't want to say what their opinion is in front of the wrong person because they don't want to deal with the blowback that they may get from certain groups or communities of which they are a part if they express an opinion that everyone else does not agree with. And one of the main reasons for this is because a lot of people, not necessarily the person who doesn't want to express the opinion, but a lot of people who might hear it, a lot of people are not critical thinkers, so they don't want to hear anything that goes against their opinions, and I understand that 100%. So if you're a school teacher and you don't believe in critical race theory, you might not want to go express that at school because you might get fired from your job, or you might not be able to move up and get advanced in your company, or you might not be on your team anymore if you express a certain opinion that goes against the grain of everyone else in the room, because everyone else in the room, they are not critical thinking individuals. And listen, I'm not mad at you for this. This is part of the hustle. Sometimes in life, you don't want to say anything and you want to save your opinions for where they can at least be tested and challenged in an environment of critical thinking individuals, and everybody ain't that. So I understand. Point number two, trust your own judgment, and when you don't know, ask questions. So when you hear someone express an opinion and you're not sure they can actually stand on that opinion, ask them some questions and see how they respond. If people get frustrated or angry or annoyed with you for asking them questions about their opinion that they have expressed, that should tell you something. It should be red lights going off in your mind that this person is probably not a critical thinker and probably didn't formulate that opinion through their own independent thought. And number three, be flexible with your opinions. I told you this in episode 734. Just because you have one opinion today does not mean you cannot change that opinion tomorrow, pending you getting new information. Many people get a certain opinion and once they declare that point of view, even if it's not theirs, they perform as if they believe they are stuck with it for life. All right, only fools marry their opinions. You take your opinions on dates, you do not get married to them. Don't put a ring on it. If you have all the same opinions in 2030 that you had in 2020, you are a fool, or you're dead, or you have gotten zero new experiences and zero new information, which would technically 10 years, no new information, that makes you a fool. You didn't learn anything in 10 years. So you can use the same phrase that I use. You should copy and paste this and burn it into your mind. Every opinion expressed here is flexible and subject to change, pending new experiences, new information, and new perspectives. That flexibility is your out clause. You thought this yesterday, you think this now because you got new information, new perspectives, and new experiences. Send me a text. Tell me what you're going to do different. How are you going to think different based on what you heard today? My number is 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. Work on your game. Dre all day.